Mr. Bolton joins us now. Thank you very much for coming on BBC Breakfast and talking about this. Good morning to you. I'm sure you've had a look at some of the front page of the papers this morning. Your party are in those headlines calling for you to choose between your girlfriend and your future as party leader. So what decision have you come to?
We've together made the decision that the romantic element of our relationship should end. She is utterly distraught, close to breakdown over all of this. She never intended these comments to ever be made public. They were made some time ago, and indeed, although utterly indefensible, there is some context to them which in time will be revealed. But the fact is that I'm going to be supporting her family and supporting her in rebuilding her life going forward.
You say they're indefensible, but you talk about that context. Why can't you explain the context now? Because just to remind people of those comments, she was talking about the fact that Meghan Markle could take the royal family. She said she had a tiny brain, and she was mentioning that this was a Britain and not Africa. I mean, what is the context around those comments?
In that particular case, there is no context that defends or justifies the comments that were made, and I was as appalled and shocked as anybody else when I saw them first. Some of the other comments she's made do have a context, and indeed there are elements of that at the appropriate time we will explain what they are.
I understand this. Obviously, it's been a difficult decision for you to come to, and you've been discussing this with her over the weekend. Yes. Do you think this saves your position as party leader of UKIP? Then, what sort of work have you got to do now?
I mean, the important work now is indeed ongoing. It's work that's already started, which is to create a solid administrative, financial, logistical planning base for the party, so that we can actually project ourselves going forward. And I said the other day, a couple of days ago, that actually what we wanted to see was a coming together or coordination of the different Leave campaigns and a mobilisation to actually ensure that we do get the government delivering the mandate that they were given on the 23rd of June 2016. That's the core task.
The problem is that, Mr. Bolton, that it's hard for people to think about policy because the headlines have been dominated by what has been happening to you. Now, in terms of your future as party leader, you ran a campaign to be UKIP party leader based on you being a happily married man. You then...
I would dispute that. I mean, I was married. I still am married.
You did make that part of your campaign, though, and you then ended that relationship with your wife. Well, did you not use the fact that you were married as part of any of that campaign then?
I was asked whether I was married and whether I had children, and the answer was yes. I didn't make a big issue of it. I didn't make a big song and dance about it. The fact is that I was married. I am still married. Obviously, there are things in my personal life now, and there have been since before Christmas that need to be I need to address. But I didn't make that a central plank in any way of my campaign. My campaign was about getting the party on its feet, sorting out its internal organisation so that we can deliver effective politics. And that's what I was consistently saying.
Can you understand why people would look at you this morning and over the weekend and question your trust and judgment? And not just people who may have voted UKIP in the past, who might consider voting UKIP in the future, but people within inside your own party. Let me read a couple of comments from people. UKIP activist Ben Walker says, "You must go before you destroy UKIP's political family." Former UKIP Deputy Chairman Suzanne Evans says there's scandal after scandal on top of scandal with you at the leadership. And the West Midlands MEP Bill Etheridge says, "Go now, go quietly, and leave us to deal with what's left." He calls you a naive political lightweight. These are people in your own party.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, two of the names that you've mentioned were part of the leadership contest themselves and still have aspirations in that direction. I would suggest that those two individuals, Mr. Walker and Mr. Etheridge, should actually start working towards the betterment of the party itself, working as part of a team rather than coming up with divisive and self-interested comments. The point at the moment is that we've got to work together. If we fail to work together, then indeed the party will fail to go forward. And right from the beginning, both of those individuals have been following their own path.
How can you paint a picture of a successful future for UKIP, though, with all this talk is not about policy, it's about you as a person and what's happening in your personal life at the moment. In the last general election, UKIP lost 3.4 million voters compared to what you got in 2015.
Correct.
Does the party have an actual future?
Oh, absolutely it does. And indeed, we're moving steadily back up in the polls. One of the problems for the party was internal organisation, problems with internal communications, problems with funding and so on, and campaign planning. Well, these are all the things that for the last 3 months I've been working hard on sorting out. And indeed, in the coming 2 months or so, you will see those things will start to emerge more publicly, and you will see the impact of what I've been doing. So this doesn't, you don't turn around a political party overnight. It takes a bit of time, and that's what's been happening. So indeed, there's a fine future. And indeed, the political context at the moment is that the British government at the moment is not delivering on an effective exit of the European Union. There's no clear vision, there are no clear objectives. And indeed, the 16 position papers they put to Brussels are, I would call them vacuous. They're very vague statements of intent rather than providing a negotiating base. There's a total failure there, and somebody needs to be holding the government to account and getting them moving, get the planning and preparation actually mobilised, which they failed to do themselves.
Before we let you go, you told us this morning that you've ended your relationship with your girlfriend Jo Marnie. She's currently suspended from the party. Is there a way back for her to the party, do you think?
This has nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to interfere with it. There is a well-established disciplinary process. She has, in my view, quite rightly been suspended, pending the establishment of a board to look into the case. And that board will be convened under the chairmanship of the General Secretary of the party. They will make they will come to whatever decision they come to, and I will support that decision, whatever it is.
Henry Bolton, leader of the UKIP party, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.